I only brought Xian and Diablo along, and we had the maid guide us to the venue. Long time no see, Rimuru. I see you did not bring that evil dragon with you, that's commendable. I figured that evil dragon was referring to Valdor. Considering all the bad stuff that guy caused in the past, Luminas definitely had a right to call him that, but I thought she was being a little too harsh. Nevertheless, it was none of my business. Indeed, it's been a long time. Obviously, I wouldn't bring him along. That guy's a walking troublemaker. Letting him come to an event such as this would only give me a headache. Kukuku, so you do understand. With just a short exchange, I suddenly got the feeling that Luminas and I had a lot in common. It turned out Valdor could be useful on occasion. 3 people, including Luminas, were waiting for me in this opulent room. Gunther, with the appearance of an old butler, stood to Lumina's left, while Louis the Pope stood to Lumina's right. Since Roy, who was acting as Lumina's body double, had to hide, all that remained of the 3 archdukes were gathered here. I was somewhat perplexed by Hinata's absence on this occasion. Aren't you going to call Hinata? To my question, Gunther and Louis helpfully replied. I was planning to. Even though she's evolved from a sage to a saint, she was still human once. While she doesn't need to sleep anymore, she apparently could not get rid of her old habit as a human. I went to call her, but she mentioned something about how insufficient sleep would be bad for skin and some other bizarre things. Indeed, it was already past midnight, which explained why they didn't drag Hinata along. As I was going to take their word for it, Luminous cracked a small smile and told me something unexpected. Her bodily structure has evolved close to that of a spiritual life form, so there's no way her skin could get worse. But Hinata does require sleep. Even though she's a saint now, her body is still the same as when she was human. It will take a long time before her body fully evolves as well. This has been a misunderstanding. Hinata is not some superwoman. She smiled again upon finishing her explanation. Humans were different from monsters in the sense that their bodies would not change drastically, like the latter's. That was the gist of her description. In other words, Hinata still retained all of her human qualities, and in a way, that could be considered her Achilles' heel. I noticed the way monsters evolved was quite beyond common sense too. Incidentally, this went without saying, but Diablo didn't need any sleep either. And while Xian still required some rest, she only needed 3 hours each time. She could also go without sleep for more than 7 days straight. Benimaru and Sai were the same, which was perhaps a sign that monsters had stronger adaptability to different environments. If Hinata wasn't here, I just had to accept it. As the one being invited, it wasn't something I should be worrying about anyway. In that case, I have a gift for you guys. This is a new dish made by Shuna and Yoshida-san. Brandy apple pound cake I offered. Since Hinata missed out on my donation of this delicious dessert, she would no doubt complain. But snacking on sweets at night was probably bad for her beauty. Hinata enjoyed eating this type of stuff, but since she was oblivious of this fact, she would not have hesitated for a single moment to eat it. How caring of me. Your courtesy impresses me. You are a smart one after all, Luminous praised aloud. It was thanks to Shuna that I could bring these gifts. The 2 people who claimed to be my secretaries, on the contrary, were not nearly as considerate. Diablo was definitely the most careful when it came to behaving around me, but he didn't seem to focus on anything else. A lot of the time, it was like those 2 had a screw loose somewhere. Putting that aside for now, I asked, right, so why did you call me here? I was deliberating over whether I should tell you this or not, but now I've decided to share this information with you. Granbell has been planning something sinister. I am looking forward to the concert in 3 days and don't want anyone to get in the way. That's why I want your help. She cut to the chase without skipping a beat. Shouldn't you stop eating cake when discussing something serious like this? I really should have mentioned this to her. Xia nodded as if she had a clue of what was going on, yet my intuition immediately told me otherwise. Diablo was giving off its none of my concern vibe, probably thinking along the lines of just kill the enemies when they come. Well, to be honest, I felt awfully conflicted. It might be a different case had this land been under my administration, but this was another person's entire nation. Even though I could summon Saui's subordinates and scatter them around the continent, along with some demons, I did not want to stir things up too much. That was why. If it's something so important, shouldn't you call Hinata? Indeed, this was the time for Hinata to shine. Compared to us, who were merely guests here, she was more qualified to uphold the security of this nation. Well, I thought this was a sensible approach. Luminous wouldn't buy it. Don't you look down on us now. Even if those trash come and instigate a fight, Lubelius's defense is indestructible. We completely fortified our borders to fend off that evil dragon. However, no matter how flawless our defenses may be, intruders could still sneak in by utilizing secret tunnels that we are unaware of and launch an attack. I could see glimpses of her confidence from what she had said. The city was an iron fortress even against an entire army. That was to be expected of a city built to withstand attacks from Valdor. A 10,000-strong army, in all likelihood, wouldn't be enough to conquer it. Even so, this was not what Luminous was worried about. Secret tunnels that even you don't know about. Right, I recall that Granbell Rosso was the head of the 7 luminary clerics. You are correct, added Lewis. They've been operating behind the scenes on this land for a long time. Surely, he had prepared 1 or 2 secret passages. Humans are exceptionally skillful at such trickeries. The most unfortunate thing is that man used to be the hero of light, and even fought against Luminous Sama in the past, continued Gunther. If he were to hide his aura, we wouldn't be able to detect him. Their eyes glimmered as they spoke. This sounded like a challenging task to handle. Isn't this what you'd call an inside job? Granbell knew better than anyone else about this nation's composition and geography. He had previously proven his strength as well. I heard that he was stronger than Clayman, and therefore could not be underestimated. That was how I saw it. How boring. Please don't trouble Rimuru Sama with menial chores like that, someone suddenly interjected, disgusted. It was Diablo. Just when I was thinking he had been behaving nicely, he abruptly interrupted with this line. Seriously, couldn't you be more mindful of the time and place? Lewis and Gunther's expressions darkened drastically, but fortunately, Lumina's laughter made the two hold back. Kukuku. Black Primordial, Rimuru has truly made you quite the obedient pet. It's still rather unbelievable despite witnessing it with my own eyes. Luminous sure was odd to laugh under these circumstances. But thanks to her jovial reaction, the atmosphere smoothed over once more. Please don't call me that. Rimuru Sama has already given me a wonderful name. Back off, Diablo. Luminas and I have already established an alliance, and I intend to keep it that way. I publicly rebuked him, partially to apologize to Luminous. Apologies for my intrusion. Diablo did not challenge Luminous any further, and instead remained silent at my command. It looked to me that he was simply putting on an act. Seeing how he had apologized to Luminous and the others, I let it pass. Luminous had some requests for us guests, and I didn't want to make the scene any more awkward. No, that guy, Diablo, has a point too. It's not very courteous of me to ask a favor such as this from you. On the other hand, I still wish you will agree since I have good reasons. Luminous sure had a big heart. She even considered Diablo's feelings and directly called him by his name. Even though she addressed him without any honorifics. Luminous wouldn't get mad over trivial things such as these. Thus, she calmly revealed why we had been invited. I brought this up when I mentioned that Hinata needs to sleep, but when humans evolve, their bodies won't adapt right away. It takes a long time before they can mature. From a sage that possibly rivaled a demon lord seed, a human could grow to become a saint, which was the equivalent of an awakened demon lord. Yet, if this evolution required some time to activate before coming into effect, then a newly risen saint would not pose too much of a threat. Even if they gained enormous power, it was still meaningless if they couldn't properly command it. Hinata's control over her powers was masterful. Unfortunately, it relied entirely on her techniques. It wasn't something as natural as breathing, so it would burden her body and mind. Speaking of which, why did Luminous bring this matter up when Hinata wasn't around? I understand now. It was actually because Hinata wasn't present that she found the confidence to discuss the topic. Humans would evolve over eons. Could it mean? Luminous continued with her explanation. Regarding Granbell, he is not a saint but a bearer of the hero's egg. When the hatchling grew its wings and left the nest, even I have no idea just how strong he has become. Didn't this imply he was a legitimate hero? The term hero was used here and there, but had different connotations to it. Some would proclaim themselves to be a hero, but only people bearing the hero's egg were acknowledged by the world. In other words, the latter were the real deal, possessing sufficient strength to even seal a Wavell door. Just like how demon lord seeds were still considered demon lords, hero's egg bearers would be considered heroes in conjunction. Their sources of power were very similar. Heroes and demon lords are bound by causality. This saying really hit the nail on the head. And deducing further from this knowledge, I could tell that Granbell's power was presumably on par with an awakened demon lord. Could it be that he is more powerful than Hinata? When I heard that Gran was killed by Nicholas alone, I thought I had misheard. Disintegration is truly the strongest magic spell, but Gran would not be stupid enough to take a hit like that head on. And, to answer your question, Luminous stared straight into my eyes. I see, so that's why she didn't call Hinata. You are correct. I tried convincing him to join me, which is why I fought against him in the first place. As a result, this is why I can confidently declare him to be stronger than even the older demon lord. Luminous concluded without hesitation. Not only me, but Lumina's servants, Lewis and Gunther, were shocked by her words. It was likely due to the fact that they had always looked down on Gran in the past. Indeed, we've never challenged Gran head-on before. Is he really that strong? Certainly. The reason why I allowed Gran to do as he wished was so that I could have him in the palm of my hand. We did not have any conflicts of interest, and I only proposed a deal with him out of curiosity. I allowed him to create the 7 luminaries and granted him the highest authority. If I had to justify why, I wanted to make him one of my trump cards. Luminous reluctantly admitted. Yet this trump card backfired before it could be exploited. Did he become a hostile dagger at her throat? On one hand, this was her miscalculation, but on the other, I was also partly responsible. However, no matter how you put it, my role was simply a small percentage of the cause, and therefore shouldn't be held accountable. The girl was precious to the Rossos. This is all happening because that Mirabelle died. I quickly surmised. For Granbell, who was constantly cautious to act now during these turbulent times, that must have been the reason. Was it the little girl I saw during your nation's founding festival? I did not know her either, yet I could tell she was a remarkably strong foe. If Granbell treasured her so much, then she might have been the key to his ambition. Mirabelle was indeed tough to deal with. She definitely would have continued deviously planting seeds for even more trouble in the future, had she not revealed herself and her underhanded scheming.